My guest is a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer. He is one of a handful of artists identified by just one name and an even smaller list, just two American musicians included on the cover of the Beatles' legendary Sgt. Pepper's album. Dion, good morning and welcome to WDHA.
Good morning, Jim. It's a pleasure to be with you.
The book is called The Rock and Roll Philosopher: Conversations on Life, Recovery, Faith, and Music. And a good amount of this book is in conversation form between you and co-author Adam Jablin. Dion, how did that idea for the format of the book come about?
Well, Adam's a good friend. We have lunches together, and when we're in recovery, I've been clean and sober 57 years. He's been clean and sober 20 years. So we tell each other these stories. And the people who joined it said, "You guys should write a book." I mean, these are great stories. They hear stories about Eddie Cochran or me inducting Dick Clark into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, or some of the tours with Sam Cooke and Buddy Holly, and they say, "You got to write a book." So it's not a biography, but it even goes deeper than a biography because it's a lot of situations and in my life that I'm reflecting on, and usually it comes out with a life lesson, or something like that. It's kind of cool. People are enjoying it.
One of those life lessons is you talking about the difference between approval and love. And it comes out a couple of different ways. You talking about dealing with your own children. And I think it also comes out, Dion, with your wife, Susan, and how she dealt with you when she finally confronted you and said, you got to get clean.
Yeah, she told me one day, she in fact, it was like not one day, it was all week. She just repeated herself and repeated herself. She said, "I love you. I adore you. There's nothing I could do to help you. I'm powerless. I found out I'm powerless. You can't understand a thing I'm saying. But thank God there's a fellowship that knows your problem and they know the solution. And you should seek them out." And then she just said, "I got to get the orange juice." And she walked away.
Well,
But
whatever.
the thing about approval and love, if you confuse approval with love, you'll be seeking approval all your life, and it's not love. And I tell my kids this. I say, "I love you unconditionally." But you disapprove if they're smoking or something like that. But I got three beautiful daughters. I love them to.
You mentioned in the book that heroin never touched your music. Why do you think that was?
That's a miracle. That's a miracle. I guess it was the only place I could be truthful. In the rest of my life, I was like just trying to get over, posing, and you know, I really did not know how to do life. I was using drugs and alcohol, and the way alcoholics do life, they blame everybody for everything. So that's not a way to do life. And then I found out how to be genuine and authentic and just be myself and tell the truth. And it's it's terrible. It's really relaxing and peaceful. You got nothing to worry about. You have nothing to hide. You could be open.
One of the other things that has not affected your music is your age. You sound as good and as vibrant now on your last handful of albums as you did, if you want to say your heyday, but I think you've had a variety of different career steps along the way, but your voice never really suffered the effects of age. How did you do that?
That's another miracle. Well, I guess it's my lifestyle too. I gotta say that like I said, I haven't drank or drugged in 57 years, and Susan makes a lot of good soups and salads, and I don't smoke. So maybe, and I work out like 3 times a week. Maybe that helped, but thank God, I'm in good shape. I'm very grateful for it. I'm very grateful because listen, at my age now, I see a lot of tragedies happening around me, people going down, and it's puzzling. It's puzzling. It's heartbreaking. So I'm just very grateful.
One of my favorite anecdotes in the book, there's a chapter called The Bell Ringer of Notre Dame, referring, of course, to the cathedral in Paris. And Francois, who rang the bells, is over. He's visiting the neighborhood, Belmont in the Bronx, and he meets, was it Carmine, who rang the bells at
Francois.
our,
Francois rang the bells at Notre Dame.
mhm. And he meets Carmine, and he's extolling the virtues of the bells at Notre Dame and how beautiful they are and where they were built. And Carmine comes back with the ultimate, yeah, but we have Dion and the Belmonts.
Yeah, but you don't have Dion in the Belmonts. Yeah. You ought to hear it, Jim. You got to hear that story in the Audible book because it goes, "Hey, Francois, you don't have Dion and the Belmonts in here." No, why?
I have to tell you, every so often I see one of the videos that you post online with a group of guys singing. I think you had one a couple of years ago with the Del Satins that was just wonderful.
Well, that's the beauty of a lot of the music I make. It's just homemade street music. And we were in a restaurant and we just started singing The Wanderer and Ruby Baby, and it's just homemade and it's all there. None of it's missing. They were a great group, Del
For,
Sant.
for listeners who know you through those early hits in the late 50s and early 60s, and then continuing on through your career, whether it's Abraham, Martin, and John, or some of the other hits that you had, one of the things that surprised me was when you got into a blues thing. And I'm thinking, boy, I never heard that coming from Dion. Where did all of that influence come from?
I think it's the bedrock of my music. Like I think Teenager in Love was a stretch. Like if you really listen, The Wanderer and Ruby Baby and Drip Drop and even Run Around Sue, I think is a cleverly disguised blues song. But I was always into the blues. I think I got into it by hearing Hank Williams sing Honky Tonk Blues when I was 11 years old. Then I heard Jimmy Reed sing Baby What You Want Me to Do. And I always wanted to communicate like Hank Williams and groove like Jimmy Reed.
Well, you managed to pull it off. The Bronx in Blues album is just a marvelous collection of music.
Right. And I made 3 albums in the last 4 years, and they have all guest artists on it, like Bruce Springsteen and Paul Simon and Peter Frampton and Eric Clapton and Van Morrison. And it's just unbelievable, the guys that jumped aboard and just contributed to my songs. And all those 3 albums are like were #1 on the blues charts. It's amazing.
And one of the more recent albums, you had Bruce Springsteen and his wife Patty on it, and the song "Hymn to Him." And I have to tell you, I've actually sung that at a couple of Catholic masses here in New Jersey. It's just a beautiful recording, Dion.
Patty Scalfa she is the Jersey soul girl, man, and thank God for those people. They helped me out. So I've been the recipient of their kindness for a long time, but Patty did about 63 tracks. She actually produced that record I send her just me singing with the guitar, and she did everything else. And there's another one that she produced. It's called Angel in the Alleyways. It's on Stomping Ground.
The book is called The Rock and Roll Philosopher: Conversations on Life, Recovery, Faith, and Music. Dion, thank you so much. It's a wonderful read, and I really appreciate your time this morning here on WDHA.
Jim, it's been a joy. Thank you. Thank you. Great.